Thanks, Dave and Christine. You guys were always so generous to include me in what you do, and what an amazing agenda. I think maybe a big round of applause for the 500 Startups team. Pretty well done. OK, so I'm the luckiest guy on the planet. Anybody who's been in the industry for 20 years never expected me to be one of the top 5 angel investors of all time. And they are going to be absolutely mortified when I become the #1 angel investor of all time, which I'm going to do in the next 5 to 10 years and put it in everybody's face. Why? Because it's the greatest fucking job in the world. Being an angel investor is amazing. You get to come to work every day and hear the smartest people in the world tell you what's fucked up in the world and how it should be better. And then you have the rare privilege of getting to pick who gets to execute on that. I take it incredibly seriously. I think it's an honor and a privilege to be given a checkbook and to be in the station I am in life, and I'm really thrilled with it. And I want to just tell you everything I know for a very simple reason. It's a team sport. Angel investing and seed investing is not a solo activity. Now, while the VCs have big checkbooks and they have unlimited chip stacks, we as angel investors do not. We need to act as a team, and there is strength in numbers. And we'll prove that again next year when we beat LeBron and the NBA doesn't take the victory away from us. I have been the most active syndicate for the past 2 years. Next slide. Do I have a clicker? How does that work? Yeah, here we go. Naval showed me syndicates. He told me about it a couple years ago. Naval's been a great mentor to me over at AngelList. How many people in the room are angel investors? Raise your hand, or VCs, nice and high. How many people have done a syndicate deal on any platform? Raise your hand if you've done a syndicate deal. Great. OK, so it looks like about a third of the people who are investors have done a syndicate deal. So Naval one day sent me an email. He said, hey, check this out. And it was a syndicate thing that he was telling me about a year earlier. I said, wow. And on the page, it said, click here to launch a syndicate. So I clicked it, and I launched it. And then he emailed me, no, Jason, I just wanted to show it to you. I didn't say tweet it to 250,000 people. And that's how the syndicate program wound up launching, was by me inadvertently launching it for Naval. Since that time, we've done about 50 deals. These are the first 45. You can see it's a pretty steady pace there over the last 2 years. And I have a $10 million angel fund that I just finished, launched Fund 1. Before that, I was a Sequoia Scout, as many of you know. I was the first Sequoia Scout. My second investment was Uber. My third investment was Thumbtack. I was the third investor in Uber, from what I understand, and the second or third investor in Thumbtack. So I got extremely lucky to hit those 2 very early on. Since then, I've done 150 or so investments. I do 40 investments a year. Any investment I do, I give the founder the option to syndicate it. And almost 3 out of 4 times, they take me up on that option. Syndicating deals is hard work. I probably don't need to do it anymore, because I can raise a fund and just keep all this deal flow for myself. However, I think there is something very special about teamwork. And the thing that I think is very special about it is that when you do a syndicate where you have multiple people in a deal, the chances of people investing more goes up, and the chances of them being able to help goes up. People who invest $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000, in general, I see them put the same amount of effort. In fact, the people who are starting angel investing by syndicates, it's sort of like the AAA baseball league. Like it's the minor leagues. They're learning how to do this. And it's an incredibly cash-efficient way to learn. So if you're an accredited investor and you're thinking about learning, my God, you can just put $1,000 into every deal Gil does, Kevin Rose does, I do, Paige Craig. 500 has a syndicate, I believe. Yeah, so you can just put $1,000 into these things, build up a bunch of tombstones, and learn. And so it's basically a pretty free education. And who knows, you might hit something. Next. Here's the truth about being an angel investor. It's painful. It sucks. And 70% of the deals you're going to invest in will result in 0 returns. 70%. That means 7 out of 10 companies you invest in will die. It takes a certain constitution to deal with those odds. However, As I told an investor I've now invested in twice, he sold his first company to Facebook. I invested in his second company. When his first company died and the Facebook deal essentially returned nothing, the shares were locked up in some IP patent troll case. I still haven't gotten them 5 years later. Doesn't really matter. I said, you did such a great job. I only have one request. And I actually could say the name. It was Josh Williams from Goala. I said, you did such a good job, Josh. It was just a privilege to work with you. My only request is that when you start your next company, I'm your first investor. And that's what I tell every single investment I do, which is I'm in it with you for the long haul. If you take the work seriously, if you take it as seriously as I do, and you put the work in, I will invest in you the second, third, and fourth time. I am betting on the arc of an entrepreneur's career. Because what this statistic shows you is, while 70% will die, if you do 2, 3, 4 startups as an entrepreneur, statistically, you're probably going to win at some point, and I'm going to win with you. And so when he did his second company, I got the text from him. It was a DM on Twitter. He said, hey, can we get coffee? I said, tell me where to send the check. I sent the check. That company didn't work out. He's now doing some other stuff. I said, third time's a charm. Let's go. And that's really the way I feel about it. And the reason I feel that way is I knew Travis when he did Rescour, or Scour rather. I knew him when he did Red Swoosh. So when he showed me what he was working on with Uber, the first thing I said to him was, can I invest? You're investing in the arc of an entrepreneur's career. And that's very important to remember, because when things go bad, and in the majority of cases they do, don't be an asshole. Be classy and be in the founder's corner in all cases 100% of the time, even when your founder's wrong. I sit down with them. I say, I support you. You're wrong. I think in this case, here's why I think that. Let's try to make it better. Take a long view of this. And there's a lot of rookies out there. And I'm going to talk about bad behavior later in this and taking the work seriously, because it is really amazing when somebody starts fighting over the interest in a convertible note. I mean, literally somebody was holding up a deal because they were arguing over the interest. If you're in it for the interest in the convertible note, please get the fuck out of Silicon Valley. 90% of my returns will come from one deal. Take a guess which one. 95 will come from 2. Take a guess which one. That's just currently. And 99.9% of my time will go to the 148 startups that were not 99% of my returns. In other words, the job of being an investor is doing the work as hard as you can, as diligently as you can, for your founders in victory, but more often in failure. Failure is hard. I've had entrepreneurs call me crying. I've had them call me. One of them puked in the shower. Said, Jason, I just puked in the shower. I said, call me. It was a text. I said, I've been there. I stared at the ceiling. I've ground my teeth down. It's fucking hard. And it's a lot harder than being an investor. So if you're an investor and you ever say the words, God, this is hard, fuck you. It's not. It's not. You write checks for a living. You go on vacation whenever you want. You don't have a ton of employees. And you don't have to worry about payroll. You have to worry about maybe raising your next fund. You know what? Fuck you. It's easy. I know because I spent the majority of my career as an entrepreneur. I was an average entrepreneur. A couple of wins, a couple of losses. But as an investor, I can tell you it is 1,000 times easier. And there's a bunch of bullshit artist investors out there who are like trying to put up this front that it's hard. It can't be hard if you're in Italy for 6 weeks and you're in Aspen for 2 weeks. It's not possible for it to be hard. So why should you be an angel investor? Number one, it's going to make you smarter. There's no other position in the world where you get to hang out with the smartest people in the room and hear how their vision of the world should go down. There's really actually a very low downside risk. People overestimate the downside risk. If you invest 5% of your net worth and you lose it all, or simply return your money, it will make no difference in the quality of your life. A 4,000 square foot house, a 3,000 square foot house, it's no difference. A hamburger that costs $20 or $15 or $10, it's no difference, right? But there's an extreme upside. If you invest 5% of your net worth and you return 10 to 1,000 times the money, it will change your life forever. David Cohen can attest to this. another early Uber investor. It's extraordinary for networking as well. You get to spend time with the most powerful, creative, and visionary people in the world every day. And that's not just the founders you're going to invest in. It's the team members and the other investors. So how do you generate deal flow? This is a question I get a lot. Basic blocking and tackling. You need to have an online presence. You all know that. 5 minutes? Am I? Really? Wow. Fuck it. This isn't an important slide. Deal flow. Read about it on your own. Selecting great founders. Take an hour-long meeting and turn your phone off. You're not so special that you should only have 20 minutes. You're not that busy. If you think you're that busy, then meet with less companies, but give them more of your time. And be present. I cannot tell you how extraordinarily frustrating it was for me as an entrepreneur when I went to meetings and some investor had their phone out like this, Dave McClure. It's a bad habit. It sends the wrong message. Turn your goddamn device off and be present. Don't be reactive to the bullshit going on Twitter and your email box. Be present and take an hour-long meeting with the founders. They're trying to change the world. Hear them out. Take a lot of notes. This is what I do. I take a lot of notes. I ask short questions. Obviously, I like to talk a lot. You may have heard my podcast. It's like all the reviews of my podcast are like, 5 stars, 5 stars, 1 star. He never lets the guest talk. It's one of the problems in my life. I'm working on it. But then what I do is I read my notes after the meeting, and I do research. If I'm interested in the company, I send them my notes. And I tell everybody, do you want the red or the blue pill? Do you want radical candidness, or do you want me to sugarcoat it? Today, I'm giving you radical candidness. Nobody I've ever asked has taken the blue pill. Everybody has taken the red pill. I think radical candidness is great. It also got me banned from Y Combinator. Whatever. Hater's going to hate. Examine every detail of the founder's work so you can determine their craftsmanship. You're really going to want to do this. By the way, putting everything aside, total value of the companies I've invested in, $70 billion. Total value of the companies they've invested in, $60 billion. One man, 20. Examine every detail. Yeah, I know what you're, put the minutes down, okay? Stop. They're loving this. What are you doing? You don't need to be anywhere. Examine every detail of the founder's work so you can determine their craftsmanship. A lot of people ask me, how do you pick companies? How do you pick companies? Well, nobody knows. I'll tell you a story. It's going to take more than a minute. Went to brunch with my friend Ev and Biz. Ev says, Jason, I want to show you my new company. Give me your BlackBerry. 40404, join at Jason, Twitter, bang. Now, Biz is a member. Biz is going to tell you what he's having for breakfast. Eggs Benedict. I'm going to tell you I'm having the tofu scramble. Ev's into this tofu scramble stuff. I can never eat that. I get 2 SMS messages. It cost me 10 cents to know what Biz and Ev are having for brunch. I said, Evan, number 1, nobody gives a fuck what Biz is having for brunch. Number 2, you had this incredible career doing blogs. You took the blog post and you removed the post and left the headline. Do you realize that every idiot in the world who has no business being a writer is now going to put fragments of a sentence up, and it's going to be a cacophony of idiots? I would never invest in something as stupid as Twitter. Will you please do something more relevant with your life? You're going backwards, Evan. $50 million mistake. And what I got wrong was the craftsmanship on that product was great. You have to look at the craftsmanship. You have to look at the founder. And you are not so smart that you know which idea is going to work. Once I started trying to figure out what ideas were going to work, and I just focused on the founder and why they're doing it and how well they do what they do, that's when things opened up for me. That's when my incubator started to have the best companies. That's when I started to get the best deal flow. I stopped trying to think that I was smart. I realized I wasn't smart. What I was good at was picking people. It's all about picking great people to work with and supporting them relentlessly. Here are some great questions to ask. I don't have time to go through them. How to be a great syndicate lead. This is all online. Select founders who communicate well. One of the companies I invested in refused to give updates to the investors. I said to them, if you do not give updates in 14 months when you run out of money, they will not give you more. Please, give people updates. So then they send these bullshit updates quarterly that have no relevant information. I'm like, how much runway, how much revenue? And they put all these crazy things about press releases and conferences and nothing that matters. Get into a big battle with them, and I say, guys, I tell you what, it's been 2 years of this, 18 months of nonsense. Give me my $25,000 back. You've made all this progress. Rip up the term sheet. I'll take no appreciation of my shares. Get me off the cap table. They refused to do it. And then they started running out of money, and they're like, hey, we need more money. I'm like, what bizarre world am I living in? Take the work seriously. Do not be an entitled asshole. If people give you money, they're typically, Aileen's giving you other people's money. She went out, asked other people to give her money, and she gives it to other people. Then you don't give Aileen updates? Really? Give the updates. And if it's a shitty update, you should write it 10 times more. If Travis sends me an update, it's up and to the right. Yeah, I know Travis. I read the papers. Like, I don't need an update from Uber. He still updates me on what's going on. It's not necessary. The people who are struggling sometimes can't write the email because they wait for good news to come. Now, when I invest in a company, I put in my side letter, I would like an update monthly. If you take my money, sign this piece of paper that says you're going to give me the update. Spoiler alert, if you give updates, you get more money. You build more confidence. People want to engage with you. They think that you're interesting. They get more interested in your business. If somebody puts $1,000 or $5,000 into your business, they probably can put in 10 or 50. The $1,000, $5,000, and $10,000 bet on syndicates is a test. It's a test to see if you're worthy of more money. So covet those founders, covet those investors. If you're going to do syndicates, you got to have traction. You cannot put up ideas. You cannot put up people before product market fit. Not anymore. In the beginning, you could. Now, the angel syndicates are getting more sophisticated, and there's more options. VCs will not invest in companies anymore, do a Series A without traction. That's coming down to the angel space. Now I see angels who are just like, yeah, too many startups, 500 startups, launch, Y Combinator, so many goddamn startups. What's your traction? Angels are saying that now. Nobody's taking risk. And so that's going to continue. Winter is coming. Winter is largely here for some startups. And it's cold out there if you do not have tractions. Reasonable valuations. I had one company. I won't mention the incubator. I don't go to their demo day anymore. Founder has a product, no product market fit, no traction, no revenue, but it's promising. And I like the founder. I said, you're onto something here. I'd like to work with you on it. He said, great. $10 million valuation. I said, how'd you come to that valuation? Who's the lead? And he said, you are. I said, well, I didn't commit yet. And if I'm the lead, I'm going to put a different price on this. I put the price of $4 million, $5 million. And I said, how do you get to 10? And he said, well, you know, the other people in Y Combinator are getting 15, and this guy got 12 for this thing. And I said, okay. So you're basing it on what everybody else has, like the high watermarks of other companies. I said, okay. I said, well, you know what? In Uber's first round, it was a $5 million valuation. He goes, I said, no. I said, you know, in Uber and Thumbtack, it was a $9 million valuation. He goes, well, this is only $1 million more. And I said, oh, I didn't finish the sentence. $9 million combined. Both companies, 5 and 4. Combine the companies. That was the valuation. I said, you're not Travis. You're not Marco. Like, if you got a 4 or 5, it would be great. Sure enough, companies, you know, predictable. Do your diligence. I've started doing 10 times more diligence. Here's some easy ways to do diligence. Send me your, I have my chief of staff. Go on to iTunes, log in on the GoToMeeting, show me your revenue. Show me the bank statements. Show me all the stuff. Why? Because there's other people's money at stake. So if you want to be a syndicate, do some diligence and make sure that your syndicates are doing that as well. Select founders who are not entitled. I think I spoke to that a number of times here. And select founders who take the work seriously. So will Title III funding work? Right now, it's the funding of last resort. It's kind of the loser brigade. To be honest, a lot of the companies you'll see up there are the ones that couldn't cut mustard with other investors. That does not mean that one of those companies will not become a very big company in the future. A lot of companies are awkward and strange. Title III funding is going to be very interesting because if you have a customer list, and this is one of my premises, or you have a founder who has a following, my gosh, if 1,000 people put up $1,000 each and it's $1 million, $1 million is $1 million. That's a seed round. So I am watching this very closely. I may do this. I set up jasonsyndicate.com as a way to discuss on a content basis only, if the SEC is listening and watching, strictly to discuss on a content basis Title III funding. But I do think that there's something special here if you have customers. So if you've done a Kickstarter and you had 10,000 people buy your product, would 1,000 of them put in $100 each or $200 each? Quite possibly. But it's going to take some brave angels and some brave founders to want to sort of wade into these waters. Guess what? When we started the syndicates, go look it up. All the VCs, that'll never work. That'll be the loser brigade. And now it's the winner brigade. Like, what's the one that GM bought? Cruise? $1 billion. It was, it went off there. There's a lot of winning stuff on AngelList now, and a lot of winners, Paige Craig, Gil, doing stuff on there. I'll leave you with this. Take the work seriously. We are incredibly privileged and lucky. I've lived through many of these up and down cycles. It's never been easier to raise money. It's never ever been easier to build a company. But take the work seriously on all sides of the table. To Mark Suster's great title of his blog, take the work seriously. Even though we fail most of the time, we're all on a journey to try to be legitimate and to try to change the world. And I can tell you that this is one of the greatest industries and communities in the world because everybody here is an outsider. Nobody was born into this except for Tim Draper's kids. And that's no dig to them. I think it's quite charming. And they probably do great work. I mean, they could have a hit too. But nobody's born into this. Nobody has venture capital parents and got themselves venture. It's a team of outsiders. Larry, Sergey, Elon. Everybody is an outsider. Zuck. But you have to take the work seriously. It's an incredible honor and privilege to write checks. Never get high on your own supply. Never forget where you came from. And do the work. Because you are in a position where you get to decide who gets to follow their dreams. This is heady stuff. You get to be, in a way, a critic. You get to sit there and criticize the people who do the work. And since you get to do that, you need to do work too. And I can tell you there's a lot of investors out there who sit in a very high position of authority and behave in a way that I don't think they should. And so when you go to work tomorrow, when you get back to your office, ask yourself, are you doing the hard work? Are you working for your companies? And do you appreciate the position you're in of writing that check? Because I was on the other side of the table, and it's hard. And I have founders who are doing 30, 40, 50, 60 meetings to get 1 or 2 investors, and it's hard. And for you to look at your goddamn phone during a meeting when they have to do 50 meetings to raise $500K, and they're mortgaging their houses, and they got kids coming out of private school and going to public school, how dare you? How dare you set up a 20-minute meeting? Set up an hour. Give them your time. And especially if the companies are dying and the founders are struggling, get in there and do the work. Take the work seriously. That's it. I love you, bro.
Always an inspiration. Jason has been a journalist, an entrepreneur, an investor, angel and VC, runs conferences, mentors, tremendous inspiration to us all. Launch conference, highly recommended. We send all of our companies to it. And
if you don't get into 500 startups, a good fallback, or if you don't get into Techstars, a really good fallback, number 3 on the list would probably be Launch Incubator. And if you can't get into those 3, you can totally settle for Y Combinator.
Wow.
Listen, hold on a second. I don't know if anybody here is here from Y Combinator, but you have to admit that post from Sam saying, if you don't get into Y Combinator, don't go to an incubator, was the most obnoxious and ridiculous thing ever. I mean, it's like, oh, you didn't get into Harvard?
Jason,
don't go to college.
I still want to go to YC Demo Day. So.
Don't go to college.
Really,
take the work seriously.
Thanks a lot for all your words. You make me rethink how I act in investor meetings as well.